Well, our first snow day of the 2016-2017 school year is coming to an end, and Beethoven and R2-D2 would like a story. What's the story? Chapter 2, Dirt Bike Racer.
Tell me when we're rolling.
Now.
We're really actually rolling?
Yep.
It lay on its side near a giant boulder. The two shining objects turned out to be its handlebars. The rest of its small, compact body was turning green from algae. I couldn't get over it. A dirt bike. How did it get here? How long had it been here? And what in the world were we going to do about it? I looked around at Tony, the question in my eyes. Well, are we just going to sit here and look at it? Or shall we do something about it? Mini bike and motocross races had become pretty popular in our neighborhood. Mike, Tony's 16-year-old brother, has a Honda XL 125. He's had a bike since he was 11 years old, starting with a small Suzuki and getting the Honda only last year. I've envied him and other motorbike owners for a long time. I had even dreamed of owning one of these babies myself someday, but it had been just a dream. I swam around the bike, noticing that part of its wheels were sunk in the sand. I grabbed its handles and pulled. The bike moved easily, stirring up the sand, and I stared at Tony. "No," his lips said as he shook his head, and no again. I frowned at him and shook my head vigorously. "Darn it, Tony," I wanted to shout. "I found this bike. I want to get it out of here." "No," his lips formed the word again. The jerk, I thought. Wait till you want something from me. I didn't give up. If he wasn't going to help me, I'd get the bike out by myself. And if I weren't able to do it alone, I'd get my father to help me. Turning away from Tony, I grabbed the handlebars of the bike and started to lift it. But even though being in the water made it lighter, it was still too heavy for me to lift. I cursed and was about to give up when Tony grabbed the rear fender, reluctantly, judging by the shake of his head, and we began to swim up with it. We raised it to the surface and swam with it to the tip of Turkey Point. It was heavier now, but we managed to pull it to shore, where I was glad to take off my mask, the air cylinder, and the fins. Tony did the same. Then we both looked at our underwater treasure. "I wonder how it got in there," I said. "Nobody in his right mind would toss a beauty like that into a lake." Tony didn't answer immediately, and I saw his forehead crease as if he were trying to remember something. "Don't tell me you know something about this," I said. "I think I do," he answered. "Remember back about 2 years ago when a houseboat was damaged in a storm, and one of the things lost from it was a dirt bike?" "Hey, that's right," I said. "I remember." The whole picture wasn't too clear yet, but I vaguely remembered about the storm and a damaged houseboat. "Well, none of those things were ever found. This must be the mini bike that was lost." I don't know why I happened to turn just then. Maybe it was intuition, but I had a feeling we were being watched. Sure enough, we were. I got a slight shock because the two guys who were sitting on their motorcycles about 100 feet away from us, staring at us, usually came on strong. They had probably arrived just before Tony and I had surfaced with the minibike. "Look who's watching us like vultures," I said. "Yeah, Lug Manier and Skitch Bentley," observed Tony. "The two most honest guys in Ordell." They were wearing dark glasses. Lug was sitting with his arms crossed over his chest, chewing gum. Skitch was leaning forward, his elbows on the handlebars of his motorcycle. I didn't like their presence one bit. "I don't trust them," I said to Tony. "Ignore them," he said, "and let's start washing this baby off before the green stuff dries on it." "Wash it? With what?" "Water. What else? When you get it home, you can use a brush and rags." I stared at him. "Look, you helped me bring it up. It's as much yours as it is mine." "Don't be ridiculous," he said. "You're the one who found it." My heart started pumping hard. "Tony, are you sure that you—" "Look, let's get it washed so that when you have it at home, your father won't want to throw it into the junk pile," Tony interrupted. He stepped closer to it and rubbed off the slimy algae that partially covered a name. "Johnny Joe," he read. "You know something, Ron? I think you found yourself a real sharp little racer here. I read Mike's bike magazines once in a while, And I remember reading an article or two about the Johnny Joe. Yes, sirree, baby. I think you've found yourself something, unless the Kleins try to take it back from you. The Kleins? They're the people who had owned the houseboat? That's right. I'll have to check on that, I said. I wish he hadn't mentioned the Kleins. All the time we were washing the slime off the Mini, the possibility of their reclaiming the bike was the only thing I could think about. I heard the roar of engines and turned to see Lug and Skitch leave. I sighed with relief. Good riddance, I thought. Maybe they were living a straight life lately, but if any two guys looked as if they were ready to break the golden rule any minute, it was those two. Getting the bike home was our next problem. My father was working, and he had the car. I racked my brain and finally thought of Mr. Reston, our next-door neighbor. Not only did he work nights, but he had a utility trailer. The Mini would fit into it, easily. I mentioned my idea to Tony, and he agreed with it. We used our locker room in the bushes again, dried ourselves with the towels, and I got into our clothes. Then, when Tony remained to watch over the Mini, which looked a lot different now after the wash, I biked to Mr. Reston's house and found him putting in a new kitchen sink. It seemed that the Restons were always putting in something new or buying new furniture. My mother said that they always bought inexpensive stuff which seldom lasted long. A good reason, I suppose, for buying new things fairly regularly. I gave Mr. Reston the whole story and got the answer I was afraid I would. "Can't till I get this doggone sink in, Ronnie," he said. "Can you wait for another half hour or so? Be glad to bring your bike home then. What kind of bike did you say it was?" "A dirt bike, what they call a mini bike," I said. "It's got a motor?" "Oh yes, a single-cylinder, two-cycle engine," I explained. "It should fit into your trailer easily, Mr. Reston." "Oh, I'm sure it will, but it will be half an hour." He looked at his wristwatch. "It's 4:15 now. I'll see you about 1:15, Ron." "Okay, I'll wait for you at Turkey Point, Mr. Reston. Tony's there, watching over the bike." "Fine." I rode back and told Tony the story. There was nothing to do but sit on the sand and wait.
Is there a picture with the next chapter? I wonder what's going to happen. I'm worried about those bullies.
Well, I am too, and I don't know what they're capable of, you know? I mean, maybe they're just interested in the bike, and I think they get money from selling bike parts on the black market.
Yeah. Well, I hope they don't take this one. But I kind of hope that he reports it.
He will.
I think that would be the honest thing to do.
He's gonna tell the clients at least.
Yeah. Maybe the clients will give it to him.
Maybe. That's what I was kind of hoping.
All right.
But I don't think we've heard the last of Lug and Skitch.
Yeah. Probably. It's only the second chapter. Yeah.
And books need conflict.
Yeah.
And they even need moments where you're really worried about what's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm worried about his friend there all alone with the bike. I thought the guys would just beat him right up. I think he's going to go back and, well, no, he did already go back, and they're just sitting on the sand and waiting.
Yeah.
Okay, hope they're all right.
Yeah, me too. They seem like good kids.
Yeah, check in tomorrow.
All right.
All right, bye.